We are tickled to death tonight to have Tom Layne, left-handed pitcher for the San Diego Padres, with us.
Power from both sides, and here's the newest San Diego Padre, Tom Layne, native of St. Louis, 6'3" and 185 pounds. He's 27 years of age. Attended Mount Olive College in North Carolina, the Fighting Trojans. This year, transferred from being a starting pitcher in his minor league career to the bullpen. His number's 0-10 with a 6.37 overall. Those are the numbers at San Antonio, much better. And he's primarily brought up to face left-handed pitching, but here's a chance to get some extra work here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And he'll face a left-hander, Brian McCann, and we'll see what kind of stuff he has. What's the book on him?
Well, it's mostly fastball slider, but everything is deception when it comes from that three-quarter, almost sidearm slot.
Breaking ball, he jumps ahead of McCann 0-2. His heart has to be fluttering here. His big league debut against an all-star catcher and hitter in McCann. And 3 pitches, 3 strikes, and that's a good way to start. Save the ball.
Welcome to the big leagues. And Brian McCann was wondering, what's he got? Well, he's got a slider. And man, that's going to go in his room someday. He's going to say, I remember when. Congratulations. You're officially a big leaguer. And what a feeling.
He pitched the third of an inning last night for San Antonio against Arkansas. And here, 24 hours later, on a big league mound, Turner Field in Atlanta, in front of his family and friends. Dan Udlow. Now he faces a power-hitting right-handed batter.
The hard thing about coming up to the big leagues, you really can't feel your legs when you get out there.
Just jello, huh? There goes Baker out, and he touches the chalk on the foul line, perhaps just to, almost as if it's a rosin bag.
Well, Dick, you talked about the lights not being in the outfield. It gets dark. And there's shadows here. It's a beautiful ballpark, but the lighting is one of those issues.
So you see no light standards in all of the outfield because this was the old Olympic Stadium, and the stadium projected beyond where left and center field are to accommodate the track and field. So there are no stanchions or lighting there. And some of the outfielders complaining you only see at nighttime, especially at twilight, only half the ball is being lit. There's nothing behind you to light that back half of the ball. Strike 3 called, and how about that for a start? Hugla caught looking. Sounds like his family and friends are just down below us in the rooting section.
Well, the Atlanta Braves really have to fight for a scouting report with a new guy, but how about this sweeping slider?
He's just struck out 2 All-Stars, Brian McCann and Dan Udlow.
Well, that started in the other batter's box and came over the outside corner. Outstanding pitch.
That brings up Tyler Pastornicky to pinch hit. Pitcher spot in the 7th hole.
You can see him trying to breathe out there. The heart's racing. Can't feel your legs. But man, after this game, you will sleep well. You'll be able to hang out with your family. There's nothing better. There's no better feeling.
Got a good number, 40. Overthrows that one, and it's 2-0 to Pastornicky. At 154 at bats has Pastornicky. Batting at 260. Utility infielder. Fastball.
It looks like he has a little movement on his fastball. That's the reason why you see that arm slot. A little 3/4 throws across his body.
Kind of a mini version of Thatcher, isn't he?
Well, he doesn't come as low as Thatcher, but he has that across the body. But he also has location.
2-1. That one high and away, and he falls behind 3-1. Paul Yanis, the shortstop, is on deck. The bottom of the 8th inning here in Atlanta. The Padres trail 6-0, but chance to see the big league debut of pitcher Tom Layne. On the corner. Look at, you'd think it's the 9th inning of the World Series for them. Come on, baby. Struck, almost struck out the side. That's wonderful.
Oh, the emotions. She can't feel her legs or fingers.
But you know who's going to get a huge mama's hug at the end of this game. Full count.
We saw the reaction of John Baker not squeezing that last strike. You know, he wanted it. He wanted to catch that for the 3rd strikeout of the inning.
Another chance, 3-2. He got him and strikes out the side. Oh my. Tom Layne, the newest Padre, what a debut. Strikes out McCann, Ugla, and Pastornicky. Welcome to the big leagues, Mom and kid.
Pretty good start. How many pitches did he throw? Oh, come on. Nobody's counting pitches. 16. 16 pitches, 11 of them were strikes to strike out the side. Great way to start your major league debut. He did it again about 3 weeks later. He got his first save in September, I think September 4th, against the Pirates. He struck out the side to get his first save. He appeared in 26 innings during the year. He 25 strikeouts in 26 innings, 2-0. Good way to start your career, 2 saves. So it's my pleasure, and I hope that you will enjoy and welcome him also, Tom Layne.
Thank you everybody for showing up. I appreciate it. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm just going to kind of give everybody a little bit of a breakdown and just kind of take you through my story or my journey, as you will, to getting up to the big leagues. Start off with to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm one of 4 boys. You can see my mom on TV. It was my brother sitting right next to her. Very close family, but I always grew up trying to live in my brother's shoes. And being the youngest of 4, I feel like it helped in my progression to do things. Just, you know, you're always trying to be big brother, the bigger brother, always in his footsteps. So that was kind of my foundation. I learned a lot from my brothers. I had a father who was out of town working a lot, had to do that to support his family. So it was, here's your ball, here's your glove, go get them. And that's kind of been my thing my whole life. It's never been easy. It's always been kind of tough. And I'll take you through it. And it seems tough to me. Some of you may have it a little bit harder. I hope not. But anyway, so I go to high school. I went to Zumwalt South High School, which is in St. Charles, Missouri. Was an outfielder my whole life. Pitched a little bit, just kind of dabbled here and there. But for the most part, I love to hit. I think anybody that plays baseball can vouch that when a baseball is squared up on a baseball bat, it's the best feeling in the world. Well, that only lasted until my arm came, arm speed caught up and I started throwing mid-80s. So you're left-handed, you throw mid-80s. When high school ended, that was it for the hitting. So I took some pitching lessons my senior year of high school. It was probably the best thing I could have done. For me, I was always raw. Like I said, I was an outfielder. I had a little bit of arm strength, but couldn't put all the pieces together. So I take some pitching lessons. Cost a little bit of money, of course. But take some pitching lessons, and things just took off from there. A junior college takes a look at me, and they want to sign me. I don't know the difference. I'm still a senior in high school. I don't know this school's better than that school, and I'm told if this guy offers you money, you sign. I sign at a mediocre junior college. So I go to junior college, and the first day I show up, he's talking about working out with the pitcher. I think, I'm an outfielder, I'm not a pitcher. So I go with it, I work out with the pitchers, and finally I had to sit down at the end of the day and say, look, I'm an outfielder. And he said, outfielder, I signed you to be a pitcher. I thought, okay, you saw me throw 6 pitches from the end of my pitching lesson stint to never seeing me swing a bat, and now you're going to decide what my career is going to be. So I battled that for a while. And I'm glad he did it to me. I'm really glad he did it to me. It was tough at first, but it was a great move. From there, I went on to Central Missouri State. At Central Missouri State, the head coach's name was Darren Hendrickson. And Central Missouri State is a Division II powerhouse, if you will. They always finish top 20 in the country. Well, I signed to go play there for my junior year. My numbers in junior college were awful. Did not pitch well at all. And I signed to play with him. Opening day of the year, there was 12 pitchers on the staff. I was number 12 of 12. I was the last guy on the totem pole. If the games were out of control, I was the guy who was supposed to go in. But that's where I came from. Coming out of junior college, I could expect that role. It was 100% what I deserved. So 2 or 3 weeks in the season goes, and I start throwing better, and I get a little taste of success. And that mop-up role starts moving, and I start getting put in games where the score's a little bit closer, whether we're ahead or behind. He's putting more faith in me. I finished the season throwing very well at my first 4-year university. Season ends, and he walks in the locker room, and there's 25 guys on our exit meeting, sitting just like you guys are. And he walks in, and he hands a bunch of them a paper except for 7 guys in an envelope. I did not get a paper in an envelope. He said, if you got a paper, I'll see you later. If you didn't, I need to have a meeting with you. Oh shoot, here we go. Well, come to find out, everybody he gave a paper to, he was terminating their scholarships. They were no longer allowed back at Central Missouri on the baseball program. Number one, it's character question number 1 for me. I didn't like it. He tells all of us other 7, you need to go play summer ball, and you need to earn your scholarships back. You haven't gotten them taken away, but you haven't gotten all of it back come springtime. And that to me was hard to deal with. Like, if you commit to a kid for 2 years, he should be locked in for 2 years. You commit to him for 4 years, he should be locked in for 4 years. Especially if it's only performance. So I said, okay, well, I left to go play summer ball that year in Martinsville, Virginia, close to here. And I get there, and I meet a man named Aaron Aiken. He was the baseball pitching coach at Mount Olive College, I want to say from like 2004 to 2009. He was a first rounder with the Marlins in '97, threw hard as hard could get, and he blew out his elbow twice. So his career ending when he blew it out the 3rd time. Anyway, Aiken and I had worked quite a bit together over that summer, and halfway through the summer, I'm looking back, I'm 3-0, I've got a 2.4 ERA in a wood bat league, and I'm facing guys that are going to all these big D1 schools like LSU and Clemson, all these different schools, and I'm thinking, well, if I can do it against these guys, I can do it anywhere else. And I'm starting, so I went from being a reliever to starting in summer ball and pitching well. I directly give all that credit to Aaron Aiken and what he did for me. He has a lot to do with what I am today, 100%. The way I look at pitching, my pitching philosophy, my mentality, my determination, my willpower, my work, everything has to do with that man. So I call Central Missouri, and I tell Darren Hendrickson I want my release. He gives me my release, and I basically become schoolless. I have no school to go to. I've just got released from Central Missouri's program. And I start looking for places to play. Of course, Mount Olive is in the running, because that's where Aaron Aiken was at. So they give me a decent scholarship. I go to Mount Olive, and I could not have enjoyed the time I spent there or the people that I have met there more than anything I've ever done. Mount Olive was a great experience. While it is a small school, it was great. We proceeded to go from 50-something in the country to finishing 6th in the country. We were 1 game away from going to the World Series. We had to win 1 of 2 games on Sunday, and we lost a doubleheader. It was tough, but I'll be honest with you, it was tough for me, but I had the draft on my mind. I had spoken with a few scouts that were in the stands. They'd always, they'd see me and they'd come up and they'd give you a little, rib jab and say, hey, would you sign if I draft you? Would you sign if I draft you? And I'm a senior, so money-wise and school, there's no leverage for me. If they want to draft me, they can pat me on the rear, give me a plane ticket and say, go get them. And that's essentially what they did. Draft day comes, it's June 7th, 2007. No, sorry, June 9th, 2007. And I'm told by Howard McCullough. Does that name ring a bell to anybody? Howard's? No? He is a scout for the Diamondbacks. He has grown up in this area. He's been here scouting schools for as long as I can. I mean, he's probably 75 years old now. And he calls me and says, Tom, this is Howard. How are you? I said, good. How are you? He said, just want to let you know that we're going to take you here in the next 3 or 4 rounds. thought, great, but I'll believe it when I see it because it's a game. Sure enough, I'm listening on a computer. I've got family, friends, aunts, uncles, and over the computer it says with the 26th round, 740-something selection, Diamondbacks select Tom Layne from Mount Olive College. So that in itself was enough to give you chills and give you some determination to go out there and try to move forward and become better at baseball. So I got drafted on the 9th. That I believe was a Friday. I flew out on Monday and went to Arizona. Was in Arizona for 3 or 4 days where I was surrounded by Latin players. They were all from the Dominican, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Mexico, until all the draft guys came in. And what they have is, I'm going to break it down for you guys. I don't know if you can see this, but they have 2 rookie ball teams. And these all feed toward the big leagues. They have 2 rookie ball teams, and there's probably 35 to 40 guys on each roster. Of those 35 to 40, half of them on each team were that year's draft, so my draft year for 2007. And on top of all that, all these teams ahead of you are guys that were drafted previously or signed from the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, Venezuela, and they're there with you too. So they take these 2 teams, and after that season's over, you got to make this team. And when that season's over, you got to make that team. And you got to keep progressing forward, and you don't want to stay at one level too long because you get fired. They call them three-peats. They'll let you double, they'll let you spend 2 years at a level, but it usually doesn't progress farther than that. You know, you get to that 3rd year and you can't progress forward, you're usually on your way out. You're getting released. At that point, you're out, you're done with school. Most guys haven't finished college. Most guys go play professional baseball. And I'm not kidding when I say this. They come in during spring training, there's 180 guys sitting here, and a guy from a school comes up and wants to know who's got their degree. There's 4 guys maybe in that room that raise their hand. Of all those guys standing there. So when they don't play baseball, when they get released, which it's inevitable, it's going to happen, they have nothing to fall back on unless they can try to continue to stay in the game. I was fortunate. I got my release from I got my education and my degree from Mount Olive College. So I'm okay in that department. So that was a load off my back. But anyway, you work forward the whole way. And I'm going to give you guys an idea, because minor league baseball is not great and grand. This level, I made $1,050 a month for 6 months. That's what I made per month. This level, $1,150. $1,150. When I got to AA, I got a raise. I got to $1,500 a month. This is only for the time you're playing, for those 6 months. AAA, it jumps a little bit. You get to $2,250 a month. And then the big leagues is the big leagues. You make a lot of money. But it was really tough. And I could not have done it without my family and my friends. My parents, when I made my payments just for my living, when it was all said and done, living and everything, I was scratching pennies. So if I did not have a family behind me to support me, there's no way I could have gotten through it if I didn't have family. No way. Family and future wife. But it was a lot of fun. You learn with the guys you're around, you learn really what it's all about. The minor leagues teaches you to appreciate the big leagues. No, I don't think anyone can go straight from the draft to the big leagues and really know what it's like to put through that everyday grind of being in the minor leagues, not making money. Seeing guys who aren't doing as well as you getting moved forward, it's very tough. I was told when I first signed my contract, the minute I finished signing my name, from my boss who decides where I play and if I have a job, he said, you can control 30% of your career now that you've signed. If you do your 30%, 100% correct, you still may not get to the big leagues. I thought, dang, that's worse than, that's bad. I mean, that's as bad as it gets. I'm like, why? Okay, so what's all this stuff going against me? One, there's only 25 guys in your big league roster until September. But one, there's only 25 guys in your big league roster. That hurts you, number one. Number two, how much money did you get out of the draft? When you signed the very, very first day, that money is your leverage. I signed for $1,000. I was a 26 rounder, left-hander throwing 86 to 87. I got $1,000. That's what I got just to sign my name. That was it. However, the guys, the first 5 rounds, I think the first guy that year got $2.4 million, and then it stacked down from there. But the first 5 rounds, those are the guys that make the money. Everybody from there on, they're drafting you so that those 5 guys have a team to play on. That was my role, was to be a roster filler. And if I turn out to be a diamond in the rough, they just look even more intelligent. but I'm not supposed to turn out. So I bounce around. From rookie ball, I go to A ball in 1 year. From low A, I go to high A in 1 year. The interesting part about when I was in high A, my boss changed. The boss that told me I could only control 30%, they kicked him out the door. So I get in. We have a little bit of regime change. He sees me throw 3 innings. I'm in the bullpen in high A in Vice City, California. He says, hey, we're gonna put you in rotation. I said, okay, great. Throws me in rotation. It's 2009. I have 3 starts in high A. This is in June or July. I have 3 starts in high A. They moved me to double A, where I finished the season with 6 more starts. I go 0-6 with like a 5 ERA. Terrible. When I leave double A, 2009, they send me to something called the Arizona Fall League. And what that is it's when all the minor league seasons are over in September, they take the best minor league prospects. The Diamondbacks send 6, the Rockies send 6, Cardinals send 6, and they split them all up and there's 6 teams. So there's 6 teams, there's 6 players from all the teams on each team. When I played, it was the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, the Pirates, the Phillies, and I don't know who the other one was, the Giants. There's one more in there. But anyway, we played together in the Arizona Fall League, and that is supposed to be your gap. If you can play in the Fall League, you can play in the big leagues. Because you're facing 80% of those guys get to the big leagues within the next 2 years. So they sent me to the Fall League, a huge honor. Definitely did not expect it. When they called me in, I thought they were going to send me to Instruction League, which means I'm actually reverting backwards. They sent me to the Fall League. I had a great Fall League stint. I threw well in the Fall League, opened up some eyes. I get invited to big league camp in 2010, the following year. I go into big league camp just bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm not kidding you, I had my head on a swivel, guys. My first time in a big league locker room, big league spreads, big leaguers. I mean, Brandon Webb is 3 lockers down, and Chris Snyder is 2 lockers down. Just all these guys that you just watch on TV, and they're there. That was a surreal moment, the first time I walked in that locker room and realized I had a locker with them. That lasted 3 weeks until I got sent down to the minor league side. However, in that camp, I did earn throwing in the first game of spring training that year. So I got to throw in the first game. That was a rough outing, but I had a pretty good spring that year. So they sent me to double A, back to double A, repeat to be a starter. I get off to a hot start. I'm 5-0 with a 1.7. Thinking, I got to get a call to the big leagues eventually, right? Something's got to happen. I'm pitching way too well. I proceed to lose my next 3 outings, and I think I gave up an average of 7 runs for the next 3 outings once I started worrying about the big leagues. I get back on track. I finished the year 12-7. I got more wins in Alabama than Jake Peavy did when he was in Alabama. But that didn't mean anything. Why? Because I'm a 26-rounder. I got $1,000. I don't throw over 90 miles an hour. I'm not your typical big leaguer. When you look at me, I'm not your typical big leaguer. So after that year, I think I'm at least going to. I stay there the whole year thinking I might get called up in September. I'm 12-7. I finished like a 3.4, 3.5 ERA. I pitched well, got through 8 innings. Something's got to come out of that for 2011. I get my contract in the mail. It says your report date is February 24th. Not February 14th or 16th when the big leaguers show up, but the 24th with the rest of the minor leaguers. I'm thinking, daggone, what's going on? Why am I not getting recognition? Same thing. I'm not a first, second, third, fourth, fifth rounder. You got to continue to prove yourself. One outing in 2011 spring training, Kevin Towers, our new GM, takes over. And of course, he'd heard what I did in Double A 2010. Comes out to watch me throw 4 innings in a spring training game in minor leagues. I had a great showing, struck out 6 in 4 innings. He says, we want him in AAA, we want him in the bullpen, we can use him sometime this year. So I'm thinking, great, just go to AAA, throw well, get a call to the big leagues, everything's great. Just to let you know, I debuted in Reno, Nevada in AAA. And the first month, my ERA was a 9.8. And I don't know that I had a win. I think I was probably 0 and something. But I had almost a 10 ERA for the first month. I thought, I am in over my head so far, I can't even breathe. And finally I said, you know what, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go out and throw. Whatever happens, happens. Come June, I was 4-2 with a 4.4 and my ERA, there was some starts mixed in there, but with my ERA out of the bullpen, I was down to like a 2-something. And if you took April out of it, I was down to a 1-something. I was pitching well. I thought, oh, great, this is going to be it. If they leave me in the bullpen, numbers-wise, they cannot tell anybody he doesn't belong in the big leagues. He's going to have to get a chance. If I keep plugging away, if a starter go down with an elbow injury, I get put in the rotation. And that was probably the most disheartening thing of my entire career, because I knew if I went in the rotation, I was in trouble. I was doing okay getting through 1-2 innings. I couldn't handle 5 innings plus. I could get through 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when the 5th inning hit, it was like fireworks. You would have thought it was BP at Petco Park. It was unbelievable. It was terrible. It was loud. When those balls come off those bats, and you're the only one out there, and there's 7 runs that just came in 1 inning, it's loud. So I'm standing out there, getting crushed in 2011. I just started to finish the season. So I'm thinking, oh great, I did all this, and it's, I built up that, I can get to the big leagues, and my head mentally, I'm here, and then just a month and a half later, I'm as low can be. It's that constant roller coaster in baseball where you're up and down, and it's all performance-based. 2012 hits. They tell me basically in 2012, Tommy, we like you. You're a great guy. You work hard. You keep your head down, your mouth shut. You've done everything we've asked you to do. You've been a starter. You've been a reliever. You've switched on the fly. You've done both throughout the year. So if we don't have a job for you here with the Diamondbacks, we'll find you a place to play. Find me a place to play. I'm thinking, okay, so what you're telling me is I'm not good enough. You don't see me in your big league program at all. So just to fill a roster spot for another team, because again, I'm not one of those top 5, just to fill a roster spot for another team, you'll find me another job. That was tough to swallow. That was somebody basically telling me the jersey is unbuttoned and they're starting to pull it off of your back. That was hard. It was hard to deal with. But lucky for me, there was a left-hander in the Diamondback system ahead of me who made the big league roster, Wade Miley. He went 14 and something this year in the big leagues, had a great year. Great for him. But the fact that he made the big leagues allowed me to keep my job with the Diamondbacks. So I go to Reno, Nevada again. And I'm starting again. And I'm getting crushed again. I have 6 or 7 starts with Reno. And I get a phone call. Or I get a tap on the shoulder from my pitching coach. Hey, we need to see you in the office. I'm being honest, this is it. I'm packing up. I'm going home. They're getting rid of me. Somebody needs to come up and take my spot. I walk in and I've got pitching coordinator, which that's the guy that runs pitchers, pitching coaches, my pitching coach, manager, hitting coach, my boss, the farm director. They said, Tommy, you've just been traded to the San Diego Padres. I thought, man, that is great news, because here's a team that's telling me that they don't want me. They don't think I could pitch in the big leagues, so they're sending me to another team, and this team wants me. Whether it is just to fill a roster spot, it's starting fresh. So I left the Diamondbacks. You would have thought somebody just brought home Christmas gifts for me. I was the happiest person in the world. It was a fresh start, new surroundings, a chance to prove myself to somebody else that, hey, I still got it. Well, they send me, when I get signed, they tell me, you're going to Tucson, Arizona, that's the AAA club. However, you're going to be going back down to AA. Thinking AA, man, I've been in AA in 2 years, I don't want to go back. But I'll do whatever I need to do. This is starting over. So I go to Tucson. I have 4 decent starts. Have yet to get a win for 2012. At this point, I'm like 0-8. I'm 0-8 in 2012 right now. I've yet to get a win in AAA. Pitched well while I was with Tucson. And my last outing, I go out and throw an inning and 2/3, give up 9 runs and 2 home runs. And I'm just thinking, man, this is not it. This isn't happening. 2 days after that, they call me in the office and say, hey, we're sending you down to AA. I said, okay. I get in the plane. All right, get all my stuff packed up, get to the airport. And I call my agent. I said, Heath, I'm done. I'm coming home. He said, what? I said, I'm done. They're sending me to AA. I'm done. I'm packing up my stuff. I'm 27. I want to get married. I want to have a family. I want to make some money. I'm still making junk. I want to make some money. I want to do some things in life. At 28, but if I get to the big leagues, I want to have a career in the big leagues. If I keep starting, I might get a cup of coffee. I might take care of somebody for an outing because they have a blister on their finger, but I'm not going to have a career in the big leagues. He said, well, don't, just think about this. And I said, Heath, I've been thinking about this. He said, well, I tell you what, get to San Antonio. I'll call you when you get to San Antonio. Of course, I got off the phone with him. In the meantime, I call, some of my family and tell them I'm thinking about coming home. And of course, they were in that journey with me. They all saw me battle through the minor leagues for 5.5 years, and they're pushing. Don't give up. Don't walk away from it. Don't walk away from it. I've had so much support, and it just continued. So I said, okay, I'll give it 2 weeks. That's my buffer zone, 2 weeks. I get to San Antonio, first outing, I throw 5 innings, give up 7 runs to Double-A. Now here I am, I'm Triple-A, been to big league camp. I think these guys aren't any good. I just gave up 7 runs to a team that, to me, they weren't. I'm still looking back on paper. I'm thinking, what the heck happened that day? That's even more of an initiative to say, you know what, you're done. Walk away from it. You are done. Corpus Christi rolls around. I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas. It's 100 degrees with almost 100% humidity. It is the most miserable place on earth when it's hot and humid. You're right there on the ocean, and I walk out of the locker room, and before the evening started, I'm in the locker room, I got to start that day, and I'm thinking, man, I don't even want to do this today. I don't even want to be here. I would rather be doing something else. The last thing I want to do right now is throw a pitch. I remember walking out, as soon as I walked out of that locker room, that heat hit me. I'm thinking, man, this is miserable. Like, what am I doing? You don't love this. I'm warming up in the bullpen. I throw 15 pitches. I'm a guy that throws 40 before a game. Throw 15 pitches and say, I'm ready. Let's go. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, you don't want to do this, but you got to get through 5 innings at least, because your bullpen will be screwed if you don't. Your bullpen will be dried up for the next 3 days. You're going to hang them dry. You can't do that. I may not be a great pitcher, but I can be a great teammate. So I say, okay, I'll get through 5 innings and I'm done. I go 5 scoreless, 1 hit. 6th inning, I walk a guy, give up a cheap single, 2 outs. I think we're up 2-1, 3-run home run. Oh, great. I get taken out of that game. I go in the locker room. We end up losing that game. I go in the locker room and throw my bag on the floor, and I just take my stuff out of my locker. I'm packing stuff. There's a guy in the bullpen who's an ex-Diamondback who has to use the facilities in that 6th, 7th inning every day. So he comes in the locker room. I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm going home. He said, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I'm done. I'm packing my stuff. My stuff is packed. If a coach walks in and sees me, I'm pot committed. I'm done. I'm going home. And he said, don't do it. Give it 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks. I said, his name's Daniel Stang. I said, Stang, I can't do it anymore. So I'm not having fun. I'm not enjoying myself. I don't love it. I'm taking a job from somebody else who might love it more than me. If I leave, somebody else gets to come up here and play. He said, give it 2 weeks. That was a very, very common phrase when I was talking about walking away. It was give it 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks. Okay, well, I guess 2 weeks notice. I guess now it makes sense. So I give it 2 more. So all right, Stang, I'll give it 2 weeks, but I'm not starting anymore. The only way I'm doing this is if I go to the pen. Because in the back of my head, despite all this pounding I've been getting, all this pounding from the hitters I've been receiving for the last 1.5 years, I'm thinking to myself, there was that time in 2011 when I was a reliever, before they made me a starter when I was with the Reno Aces, that I carved these guys. They couldn't hit anything, and I was having a lot of fun doing it. So the light bulb goes off and says, that's what you need to do. So the confidence immediately went from just in the garbage can to just through the roof. I call my boss, who is a special assistant to the general manager. In case you guys don't know, that's like calling the vice president in the baseball world. It's like calling the vice president of the United States. So I call him and I said, AJ, we need to talk because I'm 27, I'm not having fun, and I need to be moving somewhere or have a direction or a plan, or else I'm going home. And it's not an ultimatum, I'm just telling you how I feel. I don't want to leave the game, but at the same time, I don't want to bounce around for 4 or 5 years and delay the rest of my life. He said, well, we got a guy coming down from the big leagues, he's going to have to get stretched out, he's going to be a starter. How about you go to the bullpen and see how you like it? Great. And I told him, I said, AJ, I'll get to the big leagues in a year if you put me in the bullpen. Oh yeah, okay. All right. So he puts me in the bullpen. Our manager in Double-A last name is Gibbons. He's now the big league manager for Toronto Blue Jays. Just got the job. But he was my manager in San Antonio. Fantastic man. Fantastic. He says, Layne, you want to go to the bullpen? I said, yeah. He said, what do you want to do? He said, we're going to do this, and you're thinking about walking away. What do you want to do? So you can leave, and when you're 40, you can look back and say, I tried it all, I did it all, and I don't have any regrets walking away from it. I said, I think I can get to the big leagues if I focused on lefties, but was still able to get righties out between them or around them. Basically meaning, lefty, righty, lefty, leave me in for those three. Or righty, lefty, lefty, let me face those three. Or lefty, lefty, righty, let me face those three. You know, I could face right-handed hitters, but I want a majority of my hitters to face be lefties. And the only reason I wanted to do that was because when I was in high school, before I took all these famous, unbelievable pitching lessons, I toyed around with throwing some pitches from down here. My slot's up here, but I toyed around with throwing some from down here. And it had effect in high school, and I loved it. So I said, I'm going to try that. It's a last-ditch effort. Why not? So he said, okay. He said, I'm going to use you like a lefty specialist. So I pitched for the next month and a half as a lefty specialist in San Antonio, Texas, on a team that was god-awful. But I loved my job. I loved showing up every day. It was great being able to pitch, sometimes 4 or 5 days in a row. It was a newborn love and passion for the game. I truly enjoyed myself again. Of course, this all directly correlates with success. But I loved it all over again. So one night, couldn't have been a better situation. We get done with the game, we have an off day. It's a Wednesday. Off day was a Tuesday. Sorry, off day is a Tuesday. That Wednesday, I'm going to play Springfield Cardinals in Missouri. I'm from St. Louis. My future wife and her family are all going to be there. They're flying in from North Carolina to see me play in Springfield. So everybody's already got this time around this date off. And I have an off day. We're going to fly out the next day, get home a day before the team, see some family, have the off day with family and friends, and then I'll meet the team down in Springfield. I get a phone call from my pitching coach at 11 o'clock at night. Megan's on the other line. He said, Tom, this is Woozy. I got some bad news. I said, what's that? He said, we can't go to the airport tomorrow. He was supposed to take me to the airport. I said, okay, it's fine, I'll get a cab. He said, no, you can't go either. And I wanted to throw my phone through that glass mirror in that bathroom because I could have sworn he was telling me I was going back to Tucson. He said, you got to meet the team in Atlanta. I said, what? He said, you got to meet the team in Atlanta. I said, don't mess with me, what's going on? He said, you get in the call, we want the big league. And I cannot tell you guys how good that felt. To go through all the years that I went through and all the hard stuff that I went through. And just, it's 6.5 years to get to that goal. It was amazing for me. You know, I'm 28 years old and I can't even talk about it now without getting choked up. So that phone call changed my life for baseball. I mean, pay goes up. Just overall life experiences everything's better. I mean, everything I've worked for since the time I was these guys' age, all I wanted to do was be a big leaguer. I mean, think about it. I mean, the average age here is probably 10 or 12. I mean, I was thinking about, I was watching guys like Tom Glavine, Maddox, and everybody, all those guys throwing TVs. I want to do that. And I'm getting the call to do it. So I make my debut. Everything goes great. Mentally, I'm focused. I don't even know what's going on. I don't want to hear about success. I don't want to hear about failure. I got my own thing going. Yeah, I socialize with the team and everything. I'm a teammate. I'm not just a pitcher. I'm a teammate. But in terms of what I had going on and what I was doing, I didn't want to talk about it with anyone. I didn't want to get on the phone with some kid I met in high school. I knew back from high school and talk about how good my debut was. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to keep like a bull in a china shop, just fly right through the season, and I'll look back later. Well, I had a pretty good season. I did. I was 2-0, 3.24 ERA. I had a handful of strikeouts. My job is to get lefties out. Lefties hit .083 or .089 off me, something like that. And the only thing I'm going to say to you guys, if there's any message any of you kids can take out of anything I say, there's two things I want you to know, is to have fun. Because life for me was miserable when I wasn't having fun when I was playing in AAA and bouncing around. Have fun with whatever you're doing. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, have fun. And two, don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything. Let's go into basic pitching mechanics. You got the rubber. righty or lefty, you know you get to pick your spot on the rubber. You just have to be touching it somewhere, right? Doesn't matter where you're touching it, you just got to touch it. For me, my whole career, I pitch from over here. I'm a sinker guy, my stuff runs that way. But I'm a lot better from over here. So lefties, I think, all need to be on this side. My personal preference, if I was shaping my own son and he's left-handed, he's going to be on this side of the rubber. If he's a righty, he's going to be over on the third base side of the rubber, if it's my son. Now, you guys all do what you want to do. But you got your basic principles, all right? You got your rocker step, pivot, then you come up to balance, you got your stride, and then you got release, and you're in follow-through. Follow-through is when a ball leaves, as soon as that ball leaves your hand comes through, the back foot gets up, you got to get extension over that front side. You can scoot back a little bit. You can go back on the target, or the, yep. So I'll do it again. It's major, it's basic, right? Step, your rocker step, pivot, to balance, stride, release, and follow. Those are your basic principles. Only key things I want you guys to focus on when you're working with whether you guys are playing catch together. You want to be squares. Your shoulders want to be. If you're my target, when I'm going to throw, I want to be this way. I want to be aimed at you. This shoulder's aimed at you in a line. When you guys play catch together, it's one of the best things you can do. Keep shoulders right. So many times, the biggest problem with kids, and I work with guys at Mount Olive every day getting ready for spring training. And the biggest problem I see is guys with shoulder issues. They're turned way over this way, or they come down, they throw their shoulders open early. No, just shoulders straight to it. The whole time, just straight to it. If you create that line, everything else takes care of itself. You've seen it on TV. Guys that do all this stuff and all this crazy stuff. None of this stuff matters. You can have a leg kick up over your head. You can be like Nomo and do one of these numbers, or whatever his name is, Dice K. You can do whatever you guys want. I mean, you can even spin around. Well, don't spin around. But just whatever you do, your shoulders have to be in line with your target. That's basics. When it comes to throwing, I don't know what you guys are hearing these days about kids and long toss, but I believe let your kids long toss. I mean, it shouldn't be all every day, you know, the point where they're letting it rip and they're coming home, their arm's sore. But you get out to a distance, they can't throw it any further, you stop there, have them throw 4 or 5 and work it back in. You guys need to start thinking about arm care. I'm dead serious, it's important. Your arm's gonna go as fast forward. Everything through here is gonna go as fast forward as all this back here is gonna be able to slow it down. So if this is really weak, this is gonna be weak. So a lot of the stuff you guys need to do is work in the back shoulder blades in between here. Because what you do is if you get that pulled back, you get your shoulders in the right position. When your arm's at release, it frees up space in the shoulder. And by this joint being allowed to move free and easy, it takes stress off of this joint. So in this, like, you know, Tommy Johns were miserable for the last 20 years. Tommy Johns were terrible, not quite 20. When I started hearing about them in high school, and it's like everybody was getting a Tommy John. Why? Because everybody's in there just pounding weights, doing all the bench press they can do. When shoulders get pulled in, they get front tight. Nope, they don't ever do pulls because the girls like the big chest and the big arms. You guys know. So, you know, they do all this, and it rolls them in, and they might have great posture, but their shoulder, their scap in the back is pulled forward and it's rolled forward, but they can still keep back but have bad posture. And what it does is it's closing off the shoulder, it's putting stress on the elbow. So pin it back, get those shoulder blades. You know what shoulder blades look like, right? Sitting on your back like that. Work on your kids when they get to puberty. Work on your kids and pull those scaps down towards the vertebrae. Just down and back. You almost want to put your thumb, like right where you can touch in your right here in the vertebrae. You almost want to pinch them back there. And they just do a few holds. Just hold them there, just to develop that strength. And that strength there alone, I'm not kidding you, will increase your velocity going this way. Because if you can strengthen this is going to be able to go faster that way. That's probably the most important piece of arm care I can give. I don't believe in doing stuff for the forearms, for the elbow. I think there's the throwing you do and how violent that is, there's nothing you can mimic. in baseball, besides throwing a baseball, to develop forearm strength. Now, if you're a hitter, yeah, do some stuff for your forearms. But for the most part, I focus everything right back here. Everything's in my back, in my scap. As for the question I get asked a lot is, how old is old enough to throw breaking balls? Well, the reason why guys get in trouble at a young age, he's too young, he don't want to throw, mess up his arm. Basically, if he's going through a growth spurt and his bones are growing faster than his tendons and ligaments are, he is at risk of blowing something in his arm or elbow. Because as those bones get bigger, the ligaments and tendons, they're behind. So it's going to take a little bit of time. So if they're going through that stage, you need to wait till they start talking like a man until they start throwing breaking ball. For me, I guess it depends on the kid. But I'd say it's safe bet would be 6th, 8th grade, somewhere in that range. To even just start thinking about throwing a breaking ball. That might even be a little bit young. Because you got to throw a breaking ball in high school, but freshman year, 8th grade, freshman year, that's when I'd start throwing, because it's not like you need to throw them for 5 years to be able to throw it. You know, I could teach one of these kids a curveball right now and he'd have it picked up in 3 months. He'd have an idea, it would spin the right way. Wouldn't be able to generate the hand speed to make it break sharp, but it'd spin the right way. So you don't need to start it at 16 to have a great one at 20. You can start it at 16 and have a great one at 16 in 2 months. You know?
One of the things that kids do is push and cut the ball when they're pitching, thumb up instead of the thumb down. Can you talk about that?
And just hand or arm path alone, I'll touch on that real quick. It's pretty common that you hear guys say, you know, when you separate down, the ball stays back the whole way. And that is common. That's cookie cutter. This is cookie cutter. Ball down, thumb down, ball up. It's here. But eventually, that ball's got to get to where your fingers are on the other side of the ball to throw it forward. I don't think it has to be so down, out, and up. It's so cookie cutter. I don't believe in cookie cutter pitching at all. I could watch him pitch or him pitch or him pitch, and I could give each one of them something completely different, because I guarantee you all 3 of them are going to look completely different. My pitching philosophy is, you take a kid who there's a reason why he throws the way he does, and he throws the way he does, and he throws the way he does, because he's comfortable. If you just gave some random kid off the street a baseball and said, throw this, he's going to pick it up and he's going to throw it. However he throws it, as manly or girly as he looks, he's going to throw it. That's comfort for him. That's what his brain is telling his muscles to do. So you take that comfort and you tweak it, very minor tweaks, and you mold that into being what he should look like within the realm of his comfort. You can see certain parts where, yeah, he's getting bound up in his hips a little bit, or his arm path's bad. He's coming straight out of his glove and going straight to here, and it's all short arm. Or he's got timing issues where his feet are getting down, but his hands haven't even started yet, you know. But in terms of arm path, it just needs to be nothing straight. Don't do what I do. Nothing straight. If you can keep an L in the arm, it's definitely going to help. But if you can keep an L in the arm, the kid comes out, he's breaking with an L. That's aggressive. That's attacking somebody. You know, that's where it needs to be. The longer you get out, that's got to get up to this point. It's a longer path. That's stress on joints. That's wear and tear. So if you can keep the L at separation or any arm path, because here to here is easy. The ball, it can be back here looking straight back, coming out of the glove, or it can be here. Anything comfortable, it just can't be here. Guys that have a tendency that the ball faces straight away from them have a tendency to have movement. Guys with the ball faces straight back have a tendency to be straight. Don't know why, but that's just a tendency that I've noticed. It's kind of a common thing around baseball, I feel like. Maybe the guys that get here stay inside the baseball, and so when they're throwing it, it's moving different. But the guys that, it's just got to be comfortable. I think I'm probably right about there. I'm not straight back and I'm not straight at you. I'm kind of diagonal maybe.
You throw more 2-seam or 4-seam, and you talk to him maybe about your grip and how you grip it.
Yeah. All right. You got my baseball? I got it. All right. Standard baseball. You got the horseshoes, right? There's all sorts of, there's 4 horseshoes on the baseball. 2 here, 2 here. You got your standard 4-seam grip. You've got your fingers are covering 4 seams. These 2 up here and these 2 down here. Thumb positioning is usually centered on the ball or somewhere just comfortable. Some guys it's down low, some guys put it down there, some guys are up on the side. Doesn't really matter. Finger separation depends on age. The younger the kid is, the more this separation needs to be. Because you take my fingers and cut them off at those knuckles. Actually, some of these guys can probably take another ½ inch. That's going to be hard to throw that ball if they're together. It's almost like you trying to throw a baseball with one finger. It's hard to throw that straight. So get them some separation. Nothing too crazy. Maybe let them fit a finger in between. Well, for little kids, probably 2. And that's your standard 4-seam. That pitch is meant to be straight. Literally as straight as you can throw it. Straight as a string. But it's a high velocity pitch. It's hard. It's the hardest pitch should be the hardest pitch in your whole arsenal. And then a pitch that I have made, well, technically made all my money on. The pitch that got me drafted. The pitch that got me all those times, the success I had all through the minor leagues, and even the failure, but the success I had was a sinker. And a sinker is nothing but a glorified 2-seam. 2-seam's simple. You got the 2 seams, you got the horseshoes that are here, and you got these 2 seams there. You can probably see them better that way. That's a 2-seamer. 2 ways to throw it. You can grip it this way, on with the 2 seams, or you can cross it over the 2 seams. I have never been able to get this 2-seamer to move. The only 2-seamer I throw is on this way with my middle finger just off the seam. They talk about pronation. If you took any one of these kids, you took any big leaguer after he threw a pitch, when he finishes that pitch, his hand's like this. His hand is turned. It's just the way that it moves in the shoulder. It's forced to turn. So the theory behind it is, when I throw that baseball, if I hold on to it late, I'm naturally turning in. If I hold on to it late, I'm throwing that thing, and if you look at it, if you're looking at a clock, I'm throwing that part of the baseball at release. So that ball naturally, because I'm throwing the top right corner of it, is going to sink that way. That's called a sinker, or a 2-seamer. Sinkers and 2-seamers are the same thing. Some guys 2-seamers go straight and then tail, or for a righty, go straight and tail that way. Some guys 2-seamers go straight and then they sink down, either down and in or down and away. But anything that's gripped with 2 seams is a sinker if it sinks, and if it just runs, it's a 2-seamer. There's no difference. There's no different. Some guys say, oh, I have a sinker grip and a 2-seam grip. Let me see it. They show it to me. I say, nope, you got a 1-seam grip and you got a 2-seam grip. Because the only difference between a sinker and a 2-seamer, well, there is a difference. But some guys think that that's a sinker because they grip a 1-seam. And all that is a dry 2-seamer is all it is. Dry meaning there's no seam on my finger. Another pitch that's made me a lot of money is my cutter, which is basically a 4-seam fastball that I rotate the seams just a little bit to offset them. Because when that ball comes through the air as a 4-seamer, it's spinning perfectly backspin. Just looks like a white pearl flying through the air. Well, if I can offset that with the seams just a little bit, and instead of having it straight backspin, I can cock it and make it straight backspin, it's going to come out straight. But once that spin catches up with the air and the air catches the ball, it's going to turn it a little bit. Just going to make a little turn point. And that's a cutter. It's a huge pitch right now because of Mariano Rivera. Huge pitch. And the way he throws his, I know I throw mine like Cliff Lee. I don't know if you guys watch Cliff Lee pitch, but that's kind of where I've got my grip from. I didn't speak with him, but through guys that have played with him that I played. And I've had a lot of success with it. I know Rivera's is, I think, very similar to that. I'm not sure what it is. But all it is a 4-seamer that you're turning and throwing and making the 4-seam just slightly off straight. That's all you're doing. Changeup. If you throw a 4-seam fastball, you got a circle changeup. Pretty simple, right? All you guys can make an okay signal, right? Like, hey, you ready, okay? Or that game you play where you stick your finger in and you get to punch your buddy, right? You've played it before, right? No? I'll play it with you. Just make an okay signal, right? Just throw the baseball in there. You got 4 seams right there. That's your changeup. And you can control the speed of that pitch by how much you choke it back. These fingers, these 2 middle ones, are just along for the ride. Those are lightly on the baseball. The only tension should be put between these 2. You see a lot of guys that'll do these, tuck their finger way back. It's because they're using their thumb, or they'll bury it real deep. They're pushing that, by making a circle, they're pushing that baseball out towards these 2 fingers, which are the 2 weakest fingers in your hand. So if I could take the 2 strongest fingers in my hand and throw 92 with the 2 strongest fingers, I want to do the same thing with the 2 weakest fingers. hard as I can, so it's not going to come out 92. So my arm speed stays at 92, but the fingers cut it back to 84 or 83. That's what that does. But the reason why you put, when you go circle chains, the reason why you've got this middle finger on the baseball, it's a guider. That's why these two are just along for the ride. These two automatically take over if you throw it right. Because once you take the index finger out of it, it's natural to let those two take over. I battled a changeup for 5 years. To this day, I think my changeup is terrible. People think it's good. I think it's terrible. But I've battled it for 5 years, and it's always because I thought about throwing using those two fingers. And it wasn't until this year that I finally said, you know what? And the dominant finger's gone. Let's just see what happens and just let these two be along for the ride. And that is, everybody I've spoke to that throws a good changeup, that's all they do. Trevor Hoffman, you guys know who Trevor Hoffman is. His changeup grip is literally, let's see if I can do it how he does it. His changeup grip is literally like that. His fingers are stuck up on the baseball. He uses these two and makes them just along for the ride. He's a freak of nature. But that's all, it's the two pitches, the two fingers, the fingers that are rolling off the ball just need to be along for the ride. Nothing is choked down real hard or anything. Tuck it back in there for speed control, but these are just along for the ride. And then curveball is pretty simple. Which I probably shouldn't tell some of these guys that. Curveballs and sliders, it's the same general message. Curveball, you're just looking for forward rotation, so when it comes out of your hand, it's rotating forward. And all it is, air is going to catch it and pull it down. I'm not talking about curveballs. There's too many young guys. I don't need them out there throwing curveballs. A slider is very similar to a cutter. It's just a little bit bigger, sharper. And you grip it almost like you would your two-seam across the seam fastball, but you move over. And you're almost throwing, if you look at it, there's a lot of baseball sticking out here, right? Well, there's a lot of baseball sticking out. I'm just throwing straight through the outer half of that baseball. So when I do that, I'm putting spin on it like this. And once those seams catch that air, it takes it and dives it. That's all it is. The curveball is the same thing. As I'm rotating it forward, when it comes out of my hand, I'm rotating it forward. Once those seams grab that air, it just tumbles forward. Those are your major pitches. I wouldn't recommend sliders or curveballs for anyone that's under puberty in the audience, to be completely honest with you. But fastball changeup, if you can master the changeup, you can throw the best pitch, one of the best pitches in baseball, besides a 100-mile-an-hour heater. But who does that except for Carter Cat from Kinston?
Where your elbows should be.
The elbows should always be either parallel with flat shoulders. So right now my shoulders are level. The elbow needs to be at that level or higher. Under it is a recipe for elbow problem. That's a Tommy John blown ligament, I can guarantee it. If it doesn't happen soon, as soon as your kid gets old enough to where you get some manly muscle about him, it's going to blow. These are the flippy guys. And it's that recoil that just tears it up. But if you think about a kid, some guys look like their arm slot's right here, right? Some guys look like it's right here. I know guys that are straight out, which are completely fine. But I know a lot of guys that release that are kind of they turn this way. Well, their shoulders are way off. You know, I'm leaning dang near 45 degrees. There's nothing wrong with that, but the head went from upright, and your eyes are your focal point. So your head went from upright, you're basically making a spiral. Because you're coming here and you're turning. So you're trying to find a plate and your head's caught. Arm slot doesn't have to change. Just turn the shoulders right. Get the shoulders upright. Everything should be attacked on a center line. Like your kid's mechanics, the best thing he can do is get on the line with his toe on the line, the ball of his foot. And when he's coming up, he should be coming back down on that line. Same about the ball of his foot. And everything should be going straight in line with that. Because everything happens out here. A lot of guys try to do stuff. They start to get fast back here, but it doesn't. It's up, down, and it all happens out here. So if you can get, in terms of where the hand and elbow should be, shoulder height on level shoulders or higher, and hand positioning doesn't really matter. Because hand positioning changes for certain pitches. Not much, but it changes for certain pitches. Which that's a ball manipulations when these guys are 25 years old at the time. That's when you talk about ball manipulations. But